these promises are above and beyond all of the spending Justin Trudeau had already budgeted for. If you add Justin Trudeau's promised deficits with the new spending from Mark Carney, a fourth Liberal term will add $250 billion of new inflationary debt that will drive up food costs, housing costs, and taxes. You cannot afford a fourth Liberal term.
There's a phantom growth that comes from the sky in his platform that arrives and changes his numbers, even though he doesn't have a plan to fight against President Trump. He also has a tax cut, a bring-it-home tax cut that never comes home. It doesn't arrive until year 4 and 5. Right when we see the need of Canadians, our tax cut compared to his plan, I'll give you one number, is 4 times larger this year. Is 4 times larger. These numbers are a joke.
Shots fired from both sides. You heard Pierre Poilievre on the Liberal platform and Mark Carney on the Conservative platform right there. Now let's take a closer look at these two platforms. Victor Henriquez joins us on the line, Public Affairs and Crisis Management Specialist over at Public Strategy and Conseil. Hi, Victor. How you doing?
Very good yourself, Elias.
First things first, I want your reaction to what the platform the Liberals unveiled on Saturday and then what Pierre Poilievre unveiled yesterday.
We live in a wonderful world, Elias, where unicorns are incredible and where platforms are really not that good. Unfortunately, both platforms don't work. And that's what specialists have been saying since Saturday when the Liberals came out with theirs, and since yesterday when the Conservatives came out with the platform. Numbers don't crunch, and both parties are expecting the economic growth to be a normal one, knowing that the Donald Trump situation will bring us down to a very basic economic growth or even a recession. So it's really a shame that parties didn't took that into consideration and present us with better numbers.
So I guess the follow-up to that, to what you just said there, Victor, because your point is taken, but I guess the follow-up is, does it matter if what voters are going to be voting on is the gist of it? So I think it's pretty clear that Mark Carney is pledging lots and lots and lots of spending, and Pierre Poilievre is promising less spending and more tax cuts and pivoting towards a smaller government. So I think it's like, do you want a bigger government? Do you want a smaller government? And that's the top of line, and isn't that enough for the average voter?
Maybe it's enough, but the thing is that the devil is into details, and what you're gonna see in the platform is that there are 3 things. First of all, in terms of revenues, the Conservative platform uses the $20 billion revenues of the counter tariffs to basically balance their budget. Mm-hmm. So there is no special initiatives on the tariffs issue on the Conservative plan. So I understand that it's a platform who is for less government and more money into the people's pockets. But the thing is that those people are going to be suffering and the government is not going to be there to help them. At the same time, if you look at the Liberal platform has more than $100 billion in new spendings, and they try to make us believe that it's not going to have any issue on the capacity we're going to have as a country to succeed in the future. And that's where I thought Mark Carney was a specialist in economics. But right now, when I look at it, it doesn't show. So both platforms, yes, they send a strong message. But I think that when you look into the details, the problem is that it becomes a joke because you cannot look at a platform and say, okay, this is really what's going to happen. This is what they are selling us. But right now, every economic specialist is saying that the numbers don't crunch. And for me, that's an issue because they came out with those platforms 3 weeks after the beginning of the election. Yeah. So if you come out at the end, at least make sure that your numbers work.
And the other thing there on to that end, right? We got the numbers about advanced polling, right? 7.3 million Canadians have already voted. I would think a good chunk of them, maybe the majority of them, did so without looking at either platform. Of course, Liberals only released theirs on Saturday, and of course, nobody who voted in the advanced polling could have possibly seen the Poilievre platform. So, I wonder, what does that mean to you? First things first, that 7.3 million number of people who voted in advanced polls, what does that say to you, Victor, about where Canadians are at?
it means that Canadians have made their choice, and probably they made their choice at the beginning of the campaign and even before the debate, because this election, it's a very strange one. It's an election where there's only basically one big question, and the question is who is going to negotiate with Donald Trump. And I think that most of the people who are voting right now have made that choice. So that's why the platforms or even the debates are not that important to those people. But now the thing is that elections goes to an end because things can change in the last week. We've seen elections where there's a movement of 1 point per day for one or another party. So things can change, and especially in Ontario, that's what we're going to be looking at, because that's where the election is going to be won or lose by both parties. And it depends especially on one thing, how the NDP is going to do in the GTA area. Because if the NDP doesn't increase their numbers, the Conservatives have no chance to win this election.
Because it comes down to that vote splitting, right, among the Liberal and NDP voters. And if that doesn't happen, all the votes goes to the Liberals. It's a clear advantage for the Liberals in Ontario.
Elias, the elections are about two things, communications and mathematics. And now we are in the mathematic part.
Yeah.
Conservatives need to have a stronger NDP vote. Somewhere around 15 to 20% is the best case. If you look at 2011, when Mr. Harper won the election, won the majority, that's where the numbers were, and it was on the orange wave year. So they're going to look at those numbers. Conservatives still have a chance because we never know what's going to happen until the day of the election. And if you remember, in last November, in the Trump election, surveys were underestimating the Trump vote. So it's a possibility that the Conservative vote is underestimated at this time. So that's something that we need to wait for Monday to know. But of course, the numbers of the advanced polls are impressive numbers. It's a good thing for democracy, but maybe it's not as good thing for the Conservatives.
Can I ask you something? Because, and I don't know if you've seen this, maybe you have on the TV sets, right? So Poilievre this morning is in Hamilton, Ontario, right? Because it's all going to come down to Ontario for him.
Exactly.
And he's promising, right, to get rid of the tent cities. He's going to remove the encampments. I'm sure people are going to say, wow, he's going after again. Charter rights violation. He's going after this again. What do you think about that messaging? That he's stuck on tough on crime, going to be tough on the encampments. I don't care what a judge will rule on it. We're going to be tough on it. What do you think about that tactic in the last week of the campaign?
You know what? I think that when you look at their internal polls, they know that they have to be stronger and they have to have a strong men's vote, especially because we know that when you look at especially at the polls today, the women are inclined to vote Liberals right now, more than 52%, and the men are inclined to vote Conservative. So I think that basically what they're trying to do is trying to go to some specific subjects who will make their vote come out. Today, it's not the time to convince people anymore. Today, it's the time for them to make sure that the people they convinced in the past, in the last days, in the last weeks, are going to go vote. Because everybody needs that. They need a participation level that is high enough to make sure that they win this election. And for the Conservatives, probably the more people vote, the more chances they have to come back and to show the surveys were wrong.
Ground game, get people out to vote, so important right now. Victor, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks so very much. Have a good day.
Victor Henriquez right there from Public Strategy and Conseil.